So we have a few things to talk about and a demo. So I'd like to go ahead and get started. Rao, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am. Today, we're going to do it slightly differently. First, I'm going to have Tomislav explain kind of what remains to be done, because there seems to be some confusion about between block merge versus finalization. We have the block merge code already on the testnet. Tomislav and the team are working on the finalization and other pieces. So I'll have Tomislav explain what the team is working on, and then I'm gonna come back and kind of cycle back to the roadmap, which we did an update on based on where things are today. So with that, Tomislav?
So yes, I want to clarify, as Rao mentioned, that we already have a code for merging of the state. So this is already completed, but and we had some finalization code, but it was not stable enough. So now we a little bit reorganized our tasks, and so I want to basically say who is now working on what. So Anton is preparing some changes that he already made for Hard 2, but now we want to isolate pieces that are needed for this new version of finalization, and we want to move it to the testnet. So Will is working on the part that is related to upgradable registry and POS contracts. And this is important. So first I want to say that we are now working on the parts that are not initially, we were not initially planned for block merge. But because block merges, we extended what we want to do in the block merge. So we have this additional stuff that we are working. For example, we were planning for hard fork 3 to be also the hard fork with the wipe state, so that we start from fresh. But now, when we have the new history, we are planning for hard fork 2 to be the last hard fork that we need to start from fresh state, and this is really important. So if we have a stable state, we want to be able to update registry and POS contracts. And this is what Will is now doing. And we already have a part of the code that Isaac created previously. So now we want to adapt at least a part of this code that is related to registry and POS. And together with that, now we also have Stas, who is now already made lots of changes on the code, and it can be very helpful for us in the rest of the block merge tasks. So we want to include Stas, and this is also what Anton is doing, is transferring the knowledge to Stas so that he can help us with that. And so for me, my task is to work on finalization, and this I have progress with that, but we have also other things related, for example, for RPC, that are preventing us for working completely on the rest of the block merge. So just today, I found out that we have major bug in the multi-sig contract. So we need to fix that for RPC, because we had currently in POS we have multi-sig which has public keys hard-coded in the code. So in the process of extracting this as a parameter to the config, I wanted to create a validation procedure, and then I found out that we have this bug in multi-sig. So additionally, we find out that in the current deploys we don't have shard information. So this was also another breaking change that we need to not only create another special release for RPC, which will be later merged to with the block merge. But we also need to manage these two versions. So all of this stuff is basically prolonging the work on the block merge. So what is left for us to do is, besides finalization and combining this with the state merge, we need to extend the finalization simulator with some edge cases, so that when we put this code to the testnet and especially to the mainnet, we checked that there is no bugs in the finalization, which we've seen previously in the testing. Another thing after that, we can with that finished, we can start testing. But if we want to optimize for faster finalization and also to reduce the amount of blocks that needs to be created when we have a low amount of traffic, we want to create these attestation messages between validators. And this will probably happen when we put the code to testnet or in the same time. So if someone has any questions, I would like to answer.
So thank you, Tomislav. That was great. I appreciate that. So I think you know, a lot of that is detail that probably most people won't understand. But I think that the high order bit is that the merging part of block merge has been done for quite some time. How to do the merge has been, you know, thoroughly understood and reduced to code and been on testnet. What people are calling block merge is actually a whole bunch of features that are all bundled together, and you're working on the last of them, which is the finalization piece, which is just to make sure that after merge that we have we can say what the final state is. Is that a fair summary?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think that's what people have not quite understood, is that there needs to that block merge has a lot of moving parts, and the most of those parts are already up on testnet, and what's going on here is just the piece about finalization. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, I do want to elaborate a little bit more. Some of this may be repetition, but previously, basically, we were thinking that we'll do block merge and hard fork 2 together, and that there will be a hard fork 3. I hope everybody caught in what Tomislav was saying, that much of what is in hard fork 3 is now being moved into hard fork 2. That's one thing to note. The other thing to note is that there is sort of a distinct difference between block merge and hard fork 2 tasks, because there's a bunch more tasks like Greg was referring to that are part of hard fork 2, but that are not specifically block merge. The specific block merge piece has been done. The finalization is being worked on. And in hard fork 2, because of what we saw as requirements, both from the RPC shard as well as the external customer shards that we're trying to get going, so we had to move things around. That's basically what is described over here. So we, for example, all this work with shard ID and making sure that multi-sig is working error-free, that Tomislav referred to. All of those things are really not related to either block merge or hard fork 2 or hard fork 3 in the original conceptualization of this, because the sharding was basically a feature that we had scheduled for later in the year. But we're having to bring some of this forward so that we can make the customer shards and the RPC shard move forward, so that we actually have the ability for people to deploy on the network. So that's, I think it's something that people really need to understand, that we are really moving forward some of the functionality from later in the year to now. Similarly, there is some pieces of Roland 1.1 operationalization that was originally scheduled for later in the year. Some part of that we're doing now. So all of these things, each piece, of course, that we pick up is another, 1 week of man hours or whatever that we need to do. So there is obviously some impact on what is coming out first and in what order. But people need to understand that I think there's some confusion and nervousness that somehow block merge is still not done, and that is not correct. So block merge piece is done. There is also additional things we're hitting here in terms of objectives. We're not only trying to complete block merge with finalization with some of these sharding features, but we're also trying to enable a decentralized network by enabling external validators. So far, we have already had conversations with 2 parties that are external validators that want to start doing validation on the testnet. So whatever is needed for them to be able to do that, working with their business models and figuring out what features they have, we're also either have already put some of those tasks on the immediate deliverables list, or will be adding a little bit more over the next few weeks. So that's another thing. Enabling the external validators is something that also we're bringing forward. So there are all these things that that have kind of changed the order in which we're delivering things, but that's not to be confused with lack of progress. Those are 2 very different things. The team is working very hard and has done a tremendous job delivering all these features, including the bugs, any bugs that were discovered. For example, Will has discovered a problem with tree hash map, and he has fixed that. And I think that PR is moving through its phases to be merged. That's another piece that was done. And he's been working on this hard fork task to make sure that, like Tomislav mentioned, that we don't have to do hard forks from fresh state after that. So there's a way to update the registry that he's working on that needs to be completed. And we have again brought forward that task from hard fork 3 to hard fork 2. So I think it's better to think in terms of there's block merge, and then there's hard fork 2 and hard fork 3. So when we say now block merge, we're really mushing or smashing all of those together to say, all of that we're calling block merge, but people should not take that as some way of that somehow the original block merge scope is extending again and again. That's not what we're talking about. So tasks from hard fork 2 and hard fork 3 are being worked on right now. That's probably just a terminology thing. We had been saying that we will try to eliminate hard fork 3 for a while, but perhaps linking that terminology of hard fork to hard fork 3 to what we're communicating as tasks and deliverables perhaps has not been as clear before. So that I think that's what I wanted to emphasize. I know some of this is repetition from what Tomislav and Greg have said, but I think it's worthwhile to clarify things for people as to what the original scopes and labels were versus what we're working on now and delivering. And what I've done is I worked with Ian to update the roadmap that's on the RChain.coop main page to reflect where we are today and these different categorization, if you would, of the scope and effort that we're working on. So that I think that's about all I want to say. The rest of the stuff here is basically just a reminder for any wallet makers to move forward and use the API with this minimum flow price, where it is a parameter, if they have not already done that. And the tasks, the release notes, all of that are available on the GitHub for those that want to look them up. The PRs are available. So with that, are there any questions on the development, the timelines, and where we are?
If I may answer for Rafael's question about upgrading the contracts after the hard fork 2. So whatever we are doing after hard fork 2, we will definitely have hard forks like any other blockchain, but this doesn't mean that they will be in similar way how we will done with the hard fork 2. So whatever contracts will be already stored in the R space, they will continue working. So that's the main difference between hard fork 2 and any other hard fork, because essentially hard fork means we need to agree for all validators to upgrade the software. But hard fork 2 is like a special hard fork because we are wiping the state together with upgrading the node. So we want to eliminate this kind of hard forks in the future. This is why we basically are we added more stuff under the same label block merge release.
Okay.
All right. Unless there are more questions, it'll be back to Greg.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Theo, I understand you have a demo?
Yes, let's hope everything works flawlessly this time.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so I will be showing the current version of RDrive, which is currently based on RChain token version 16. So I think Rafael will notice like a different way to interact with RChain token. Like it's in a whole, it's a whole like a different way to interact with blockchain. So I hope people will see that. Okay, so I'm gonna run the application as publisher. And I want to publish an NFT, let's say. So I run this application with my publisher's private key. So once the application is running, I can do an ls, and I see a mounted folder called RDrive. When I go into that and do an ls here, I see a folder called publisher, and this is the folder that I control. It is my box, essentially, so it can contain purses, aka NFTs. If I go into that, obviously I don't have any NFT. So I'm gonna create one by doing touch, then my cool NFT.txt or my cool file. Okay, now we can actually write to it by doing echo. Oops, wrong command. Hello, community. I'm gonna write to this file. And on the left, you see the voice. So I currently updated the purse data that contains hello RChain community. So now what I can do is actually turn this file into an NFT. All I have to do is essentially set a price for it. And I can do that by using this, by creating a file that has the same name, but has an extension called NFT. So touch my cool file.txt.nft. It's kind of like a config file. So now if I write a JSON into it, that contains a price and it's currently set to 1 ref. So it's 8 zeros. So this NFT will cost 1 ref. Should probably scroll down to the log to see that we have indeed received the deploy, update first price to 1 ref. So now I can probably show you that using RChain tokens CLI, that we have indeed a purse that's called my cool file, and it's for sale for 1 ref. So most of the interactions that you can do with RChain token using the CLI, you can pretty much do using the file system without having to use any command. So all you do is essentially create files and modify files. There we go. Yes, it did not update the price. Let me be absolutely sure this time.
I think what people need to understand is that behind the scenes, this is actually going to the blockchain.
Yeah, so I have to essentially just wait for the block to be created. So I'm just not looking to the log. I'm trying to estimate how long it takes. So as we can see, this purse is currently for sale for 1 ref, 1 million revlets. So not 1 million, 100 million. So now what we can do is, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna stop the application. I'm going to rerun this command, but I'm going to use a different private key. It's going to be a buyer's private key. I can insert that. I'm going to go back to the folder. Back to RDrive. So currently this user doesn't have a box, so we need to create one. All we do is to make dir, then call it buyer. I'm gonna scroll back to the log. So now we see it created the deploy and registered the box that's called buyer. So now that the user has a box, we can essentially buy this NFT or swap it as in a current implementation of RChain token. But to do that, we currently need to have a wrapped ref inside of RChain token. So it's kind of like a purse that contains ref, like a fungible token. So in order to fund our account essentially with wrapped ref, we need to create a file. We have to go to our box, and we're going to create this file. Now we need to essentially write to it how much we want to fund, how much we want our balance to be. Echo 1 ref, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what this will do is essentially do a credit operation and fund our balance with wrapped ref and put the real ref in an escrow. So now every time we can just check the balance, how much we have by doing this command, and it will show us that we have one ref. So I'll probably make it easier later on and actually make it say 1 ref, so without having to write revlets. So now that we have enough ref, we can actually swap it. We can buy this NFT that publisher has. So I'm gonna do it in style and actually do it this way using a file manager. So this is a Ubuntu file manager. We can do the same thing that we did before. We can go into our RDrive, we can see our boxes. And essentially what we want is to purchase this file, which is essentially just moving it from one folder to another, like from publisher to the buyer, right? So all we do is to drag and drop this into buyer's folder. And voila, we have created, we have received a swap deploy, which is essentially just telling it to move this NFT from one owner to another.
So yeah, the buyer just has to drag and drop a file to purchase it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it shouldn't be that more difficult than that, like without having to go to a website and, you know, log in, press a bunch of buttons. You just drag and drop a file and you purchased it. You just moved it to your own possession. Same thing can be done in reverse. Like you can gift someone NFT by just moving the file to their folder if you control it. So obviously I'm still a buyer, right? If I go into, yeah, I should probably show. I'm gonna go back to RDrive and show that I indeed have this NFT. See, the file just moved to my folder.
And it should not be for sale anymore because you have just purchased it.
We can double check. I'm gonna do.
You can do when you do view, you can do --purse-id and the ID of the purse. It will go 20 times faster.
Ah,
okay.
So the important thing, the important thing to understand about what Theo is showing you here is that all of this movement is taking place on chain. None of this is happening on your local computer. This is all on chain. Even though we can use the local file browser to sell an NFT, this is all taking place on chain.
Exactly. So like Rafael just mentioned, it's no longer for sale. And if you can see here, it's currently in possession of buyer. So we just successfully transferred ownership of this NFT. And of course, it says the same thing. If we read it, it's the same file. It just shows, oops, I guess. Okay, maybe I forgot to write to it, or it did not go through. Okay.
Maybe there's a bug.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. So I'm gonna check if I want to show something more.
Well, and like Greg says,
Oh.
it's not a demo if it doesn't break.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to and log in as a publisher, which is this private key. And I'm gonna go back. I'm going to my publisher folder. And let's check the ref balance. So now the publisher has one ref that from the sale, so we can actually withdraw it as well. So we do that by, let's first check that the publisher has a balance, so we can remember. So it has balance that ends with 600. So now we're going to actually withdraw from this wrapped ref and move the ref into our wallet. So all we do is just echo 0. So essentially we're just overwriting the file to say 0. When we do that, it does a withdrawal. So we just tell it how much we want, how much wrap ref we want in this box. And once the deploy is completed, I'm waiting for the block to be created.
So what Theo has done here is he's allowed people to create their own escrow accounts that contain rev balances using a file.
So now we see we have actually withdrew the wrapped ref into our actual rev wallet. So publisher has successfully sold an NFT using a file system. That's kind of unheard of. And I think that concludes the demo. Like I wanted to show maybe like how. Yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Like this also allows us to do bulk uploads easily. So if you're an artist and want to upload a bunch of NFTs at once, just drop a bunch of files into the folder. And
yeah, that's very impressive. The simplicity of the workflow, and you are using command line, but you could have created the TXTs with a text edit or some even simpler software.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this will work. I'm not sure what this is.
Okay.
So if I drag and drop a bunch of files, it should at least create 2 purses. I have not actually tried this part yet. So if I go to publisher, to an LS. Okay, we have at least an owl. Owl in JPEG. So that's something.
That's
I'm not sure.
impressive.
So the idea here overall is allow content creators to use their existing tools and publish NFTs. They don't need anything special. They don't need a grand IPFS, OpenSea. They don't need any of this. They use their existing tools. All they need is the RDrive, and now they can publish NFTs.
I think even a grandma will be able to figure out how to, drag and drop files and create NFTs out of them. So.
Well, I mean, the lovely thing, I think it was November or December when we had this conversation in which I said, you know, maybe Granny would understand a drag and drop file folder metaphor, and that would, and it took you from that conversation to what is it, March? That's a very short period of time to realize the vision, you know, and it's not like you have a giant team of developers who are working on this. Instead, it's you know, lean and mean, and you got it done in a very short period of time, which I think also shows, you know, clearly that RChain is quite programmable. This is lovely. Very nice demo. Any questions or
thank-
comments for Theo?
Well, I'd also just like to point out that these aren't just NFTs. This is the NFT and the file together on chain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will second what Darryl just said. This is the first step to self-sovereign data. So if you move out of the space of NFT and you think about your healthcare information that you control, you can access your healthcare information on the RDrive. It doesn't have to be an NFT. And if your doctor wants to have access to your healthcare information through this kind of a concept, you can just grant it to him using the tools you already know.
And this is all really amazing, but the point I was really wanting to make is that this is going to take NFTs to a whole other place. And you know, to me, that's what's so incredibly exciting, is that right now, because of the limitations of Ethereum and all other blockchains, NFTs are simply a token with a tiny, puny little piece of text that points to where the actual thing is. This is the thing and the NFT together. That's huge.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Darryl. Now, Bill, I know that you keep emphasizing that people use tools themselves, but really behind the scenes, you guys are playing fast and loose with Rev, in the sense that you have a Rev faucet available to you. Whereas something has to be done in order to do the Rev management. And this is where I think the other shoe drops, which is that you could certainly manage this, you know, in a couple of ways. Either the user already had a Rev wallet, or was gifted a Rev wallet, or paid a subscription and a Rev wallet was set up for them behind the scenes. So those are some options whereby the Rev piece of this is sort of sorted out so that it's not in the user's face. But if the user is not gifted a Rev wallet and doesn't want to pay a subscription, which is, you know, 90+% of Twitter users and 90+% of Facebook users and 90+% of most users of Web 2.0 applications, then there has to be some other way in which their activities on chain are funded. And this is where RChain and the rest of the world needs to take a lesson from Web 2.0. Sponsors can pay for that activity. And so in that sense, it makes sense to have additional tools which make it possible for viewers to see sponsored content. So for example, we could imagine a file browser which has a little banner across it, which shows sponsored content while people are browsing their files, or any of a number of other possible solutions. So in my opinion, the magic formula is RDrive, and RPC in general drives content to the chain, and then DAASL captures the eyeballs that are looking at that content and shows them sponsored content as well, to pay for their use of the chain. And I think that that's a time-honored formula that we've seen grow the largest economy on planet Earth, namely online advertising. So I think we've set up for the next wave of Web 3.0, and this is the first step in that wave.
Yeah, this is this is the guts of it, and yeah, RPC actually has advertising and sponsored content in the roadmap for the people that want to use it that way. It's in the roadmap, but this is the guts.
Sweet, this is awesome. Yeah, so I hope people who are watching this really get it. I know that for I just recently got feedback that for many people in the Chinese community, this demo flew over their heads. So we have to we have to find a way to make it less developer-y and more drag and drop. And find a way for them to see that through dragging and dropping, NFTs are being minted and published.
So everybody should know that tomorrow all the code associated with RDrive will be made open source. So anybody who wants to be involved should get involved, and an announcement will be made where you can go to get it. So if we want a more draggy droppy interface, I encourage people to get involved.
Likewise, I think that's the best message we could be sending. Get involved with RChain. You want to be on this train. Yep, absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, Theo and Bill and Raphael. This is a fantastic demo, really just amazing. And so, but we should move on to some other points. So Darryl, did you want to give the week in review?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was amazing, Theo. Thank you for that, and all you guys. Okay, so here's the week in review from Thursday, March 17th to today, March 23rd. On Friday in the Climate and Coordination RCast, we discussed the invasion of Ukraine and its potential climate implications, Amazon's climate pledge, the rapidly approaching extinction of the coral reefs, and Meta. Greg also presented thoughts about digital currencies. On Saturday in the RGov Smart Contract Call, aka Dan's office hours, they discussed staking reward contracts and Discord bot. Monday's Casper stand-up. Oh, Greg, I still didn't get that from you.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll speak to that after you're done.
Okay. On Tuesday in the communications working group, it was mainly a working session for the graphics of the booth backdrop for Paris Blockchain Week. And this morning in the RChain active member hangout, we discussed a lot of stuff. We discussed Stanley Kubrick's genius, the historic origins of binary thinking, the varying benefits of the cannabis plant, the public debate 20 years ago between Ray Kurzweil and Jaron Lanier around the coming onset of the singularity, the earlier origins of surveillance capitalism and engineered behavior modification, and can you make an advertising model that fosters collective intelligence? It was a colorful talk, conversation. Anyways, that brings us to now.
The chat suggests that Greg has stepped away for a short time.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to say one thing about the active member hangout. This is something that's been going on since I guess scenario days. I can't even remember how long it's been going on, but it's something that Jim Weitzcarver has always maintained. And
actually, HJ is the founder, and I sort of inherited it. We've had different people host it, so it's really an open session. So Currently, I just take responsibility for the Zoom room.
I see. Okay, well,
Jim,
that clarification.
that's too much honor. Yeah.
Okay, well, what I just wanted to point out is that everyone's welcome to come to this call. And I find it to be personally a really great place to kind of just catch up where people's heads are at every week. I look forward to it, and I enjoy it. And I hope that other people, are inspired to kind of come and hang out. It's just a great informal place for members to come and just talk about whatever. It doesn't necessarily even have to be about RChain.
That's awesome. Really, really good. I'm glad there's a venue like that.
Yeah, me too.
So in terms of the Casper stand-up, what we covered this time was Tomislav was walking through his data representation for the finalization. It was a nice to see his thoroughness. When we render things to code, it's really important that the mapping from the math to the code is faithful, and it's important for people to think through the cases. And it's just really refreshing to see Tomislav work through the cases and make sure he has a good understanding as he's developing the code. So that was really what was going on, was making sure that there weren't some weirdo edge cases that would pop up in the data representation. So that's and I'll get that over to you later, Darryl. Okay, so I need to announce that the Epoch is ending. It's the Epoch 4, I believe, so the staking, get your staking in or out within the next few days, because the period is ending, and we'll be doing all the staking processing fairly shortly. So don't forget that. I will also tell a funny story. I probably shouldn't tell this in the community debrief, but I'll go ahead and take the plunge and see what the fallout is. So yesterday I was on the call on hold with the Washington Secretary of State's office to finalize the conversion of RPC and DAASL to limited cooperative associations. And I had the person online after a long wait, and I was just checking about the filing, and they said, "Oh, no, you can't convert a social purpose corporation to an LCA. In order to do that, you would have to dissolve the social purpose corporation and reincorporate the LCA afresh from scratch." And I said, "Oh, that's too bad." And then they said, "But you can convert a social purpose corporation to a co-op." I said, "Oh, that's great news. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. By the way, can you convert a co-op to an LCA?" "Well, I'm not sure about that. Let me go check on it." So I'm sure you can see where this is going. So they went away for 10 minutes or so, and I came back and said, yes, you can convert a co-op to an LCA. So I said, great, so we can do it in 2 steps. So this is what we have to do. We have to first convert RPC and DAASL to co-ops, and then right on the heels of converting the co-ops, we will convert them to LCAs. I feel like I'm living in catch-22.
I think that Greg should be given a superhero name, and I suggest that it be Paperwork Man.
Oh God, please no. That is just hilarious. So anyway, so that was a funny story, and we're in the process of taking on that extra step.
Is there a time frame for this full process?
Yeah, sure. I just have to go back. So what I have to do is I have to go back and get the board to all sign the minutes saying that that they agree to convert RPC and DAASL to co-ops, right? Because right now they've all agreed to convert them to LCAs. So I have to, in order to fulfill all the requirements of conversion, I have to have all the signatures from the board saying, yes, we can convert them to whatever the target vehicle is. So in this case, it'll be a co-op. And then once it's a co-op, I have to then get the board signatures again saying everybody agrees to convert it from a co-op to an LCA.
So roughly 2 weeks, then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not trying to time box you, Greg. I'm just wondering.
at a minimum, it'll be another 2 weeks. And I apologize for all the delays, but what else can you do? Gotta laugh.
Bureaucrat extraordinaire.
Okay, all right. So let's see, anything else? Yeah, so I want to take just a few minutes. Oh, sorry. If I understand it correctly, Bill, it is true that there will be a marketplace demo for artists on Thursday. Is that correct?
So there have been some last minute changes to the marketplace for various marketing ideas. And so what we're hoping for and our goal is on Friday during the closed door to do an RPC Marketplace demonstration.
Fantastic. You beat me to my next question, which was if you show it to the artists on Thursday, can you show it to the closed door session on Friday?
This is the goal. And David, maybe you could answer this question better than me.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, we're supposed to show that in the RPC cadence call earlier today, but like Bill mentioned, some last minute changes made that a little bit delayed. So Friday, we're going to show it on Friday. Okay,
fantastic. Looking forward to it. So if you don't already have enough motivation to come to the Friday closed door session, there's yet more goodies to be demonstrating. Yeah, I really I want people to recognize how amazing it is to be manipulating assets on chain through the same metaphors that we have been manipulating assets on our local machines or assets in the internet. Right. This is what we have achieved, and will only get better. Beyond that, though, I do want to take the time in this venue to talk about something that I think we all need to be aware of, and we need to promote awareness of. I guess it was some days ago, prompted by some events that happened between Russia and the UAE and China, President Biden signed an executive order involving cryptocurrencies. And as near as I can tell, I have not read the order itself, but I have read summaries and talked to people, mostly talked to people who have been investigating the topic. That it's a lot of nothing, with the exception, so more research is needed. How many more decades of research do you need? Except for moving forward with CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies. So there have already been some significant efforts in the Boston area in conjunction with academic institutions in that area to investigate architectures for central bank digital currencies. I want to point out that it is common practice today to freeze someone's bank account if they are suspected of wrongdoing. not even known to be doing something wrong, but suspected of wrongdoing. With a digital currency with no oversight from the people, it would be quite straightforward to make a digital currency that makes it possible to zero out your account if you say the wrong thing. This is not a Black Mirror episode. This could happen without a proper oversight. And just to put this in perspective, right? So the reason Snowden left the country was because he couldn't stomach Project Prism, which was funneling Facebook and Google and Twitter and all of the social media stuff into the NSA. That hasn't stopped. Right? There's been no ceasing of the surveillance, despite the fact that we're decades past 9/11. So when the government, any government, but especially the US government, because it has long history of this, when the US government finds a lever of control, it's very, very, very reluctant to let it go. And the digital currencies, if they are centralized, would be another lever of control. So while I do not promote speculation with cryptocurrencies, I do recognize that one thing that Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies have provided is an open public architecture and education of the populace about what digital currencies could be like. That it is not a requirement to have centralized control. That it is that's not saying that there are not a lot of questions. Obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum will never scale, but they have put on the table some requirements, right? Requirements for the proper functioning of digital currency, which includes decentralization. Now, as soon as you have decentralization, big, giant questions about governance raise their head. This is in the RChain came in the wake of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so one of the things I saw was that there was no governance laid out for Bitcoin, and they frequently got into deadlock between the miners and Bitcoin core dev. And so moving Bitcoin as a protocol was next to impossible because there was no actual governance in place. Likewise, the governance for Ethereum is a dictatorship. And that also does not feel to me to be particularly appropriate for a global scale information utility. So that's why I chose the cooperative as a model. So we can start with democracy and find something better as time goes on. But democracy seems like a good starting point for governance of the protocol. But no matter what the solutions are, the discourse and the oversight has to happen. We cannot just sleep our way into a situation in which digital currencies are rolled out and citizens do not actually have control of their resources. That would be abysmally wrong, and it would not result in a better functioning society, in my opinion. And so I would urge everyone to talk about this, argue about it, have discussions, have debate, but please raise as much public awareness as you can, kick up a storm, because we do not want the future in which the digital currencies are centralized. That would be horrible. All right, I'm off my soapbox, 1 minute past the hour. Any other questions, comments, or concerns from the community?
Yeah, good point. I agree with your arguments.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you.
So this is going to be uploaded to YouTube. So everybody wave at the NSA.
Smile for the NSA.
I'm just gonna say ciao for now.
All right. All right. Thank you all. Please stay safe, stay warm, and we'll see you on the other side.